Welcome, welcome, ladies. I will give you the stage.
Thank you. This is great. Awesome. So for our next hour and a half, we have Eve-Marie Roy, who is a multidisciplinary artist and a truth seeker. She devotes her life to uncovering the occulted mysteries of our ancestral lineages, combining the power of sung rituals, sacred history, and geobiology. Mary Magdalene is at the center of her quest. She's been living and traveling through the south of France, exploring the ancient sacred sites with sound and meeting mentors since 2012. Eve-Marie will be speaking to us on Magdalene's occulted history and reveal the importance of Mary Magdalene throughout the legacy of ancient Gnostic esotericism and incarnation. She's a symbol and archetypal force that holds the internal codes for our soul's alchemy. Through this workshop, she will share with us the last 10 years of mystical quests and initiations into the south of France's holy legacy. And dive deeper into the consciousness of the Aquarian Age gateway that she embodies through us. So welcome, Eve-Marie.
Thanks. I just want to say when I talk about she, I talk about Mary Magdalene, not me. I, I'm a little more humble than that.
Yeah, I was
Okay.
reading
Yeah. When I was
so
talking
yeah.
about she, I was talking about her. Okay, thank you so much. Super happy to be here, and yeah, like everybody here, very grateful for you women to come together and invite that focus and sense of connection with her, this incredible forbidden archetype that lives within us, that is awakening as we're moving deeper into the Aquarian age, because she's the occulted part of us in our cultural reference system.
Yes. Yeah, we
Yeah,
definitely feel that uprising right now. When we were
absolutely.
speaking with Margaret Starbird, she's like, when I started it was a trickle and now it's become an ocean. Yeah.
Absolutely. 10 years ago, when I went to Rennes-le-Château for the first time, there would be nothing in the caves. And after the pandemic, I went there and I would cry. There would be altars everywhere with crystals. You can really see it's finally re-becoming that pilgrimage
Mm.
journey back to our origins, to connect with her energy imprint, her teachings, but most of all, her presence that
Hmm.
is really awakening within us.
Yes.
Yeah, so
So
super
I'm
grateful to be
curious,
here.
you're
Yes.
gonna have so much to say, but I'm wondering, like, I'm curious about how did your journey with Mary Magdalene start?
Well, I would say so. I had a crazy, like most of us, probably polytrauma, youth. My grandmother killed herself when she was 42. My mom died when she was 42, and me and my mom were both 16. So something in my feminine lineage had been very occulted. And
Mm.
so nothing had been really worked on in my lineage. So I inherited that. And so, in order to, because there was so much of my true sensitivity and sense of taking my place in the world that was deeply exiled in all these inherited transgenerational trauma, I had to rebirth myself. And so I found music. So music became really diving deep into the melodies and the sound within myself. I started writing songs and connecting with the ancient traumas of my lineage. And I started alchemizing all of this and making beauty with all of this. So this was subconsciously, I didn't know much about Mary Magdalene, but that was really the first um, the first gateway. And then I've been a painter for years. So when I just before I started writing song, I made this portrait of her when I was like, I don't know, like early 20s. And I think it's time to share the screen. I just don't remember how. How do we do this again?
There's at the bottom, you'll see a share button, a green share button with an arrow upwards.
Yeah, no, I don't see it anymore. Let's see, we did that
You can
earlier
expand your
last week.
screen. Maybe
Yeah.
you might want to expand the screen. It should show up. If not, there's the three little dots more. It should be
Yeah.
there.
Okay. Enregistrement, discuter, sous-titres. No, it's not there.
Partager.
Appli, synthèse. Oh, oh, partager l'écran.
There you go.
Perfect. Okay, super. So I just want to share this. Okay. Because that was the first time that she came into my life is through this painting. Um, Oops, not this one. Sorry, we're gonna get into the. Okay, yeah. So I painted her in 2003, and I had no idea. I've always been very an intuitive painter. So I did this painting of her, and then um, and she became my guide. Like this painting, I've been meditating on this painting for years and years and years. A few years later, in 2011, after I wrote all my songs and really dove into her, this painting came. I went to music school, wrote all these songs, and then after I wrote all these songs, I went to Bali, and I went into this library in Bali, and there was one book in French in the whole library. It was the Book of the One from Kathleen McGowan, and earlier on, I had been studying the Inquisition and the burning of the witch, and I've always been very connected with the plant spirits, the nature medicinal plant. And I unburied the whole Inquisition, and I started hating Jesus, and I started hating the church. So when I found this book, the Book of the One, I was like, oh my God, it speaks about this woman on this mystical quest, and she finds the Gospel of Mary Magdalene in Rennes-le-Château. And I started reading these this gospel in the book, and I was like, oh my God, this is the missing link. Like this is what we have been missing, all these teaching. That's the feminine aspect of God, that's mother God, but it's also like the power of woman harnessing that energy to walk in sovereignty and integrity. And I could see I reconciliated with Christ. And then, so I read that book very quickly. And within that same week, the Magdalene manuscript came, other books came, and they all came to
Everything
me.
started showing up.
Yes. And then it was like, she came and she was like, you need to go to the south of France. You need to unbury me. And
Mm.
I might cry because I always feel very emotional when I talk about these things.
She seems to have that impact on everybody.
Yeah. Truly, truly. I want to show you. I made a little uh, pictures. They just help me to keep track of what I'm saying. But so okay. So these are the book that came to me basically. Um, and so a few years later, I found myself on this pilgrim, and I went to the south of France because she kept on calling me there. So a few years later, I went to the south of France. I was already in love with Bugarache. I knew Bugarache was my home, and I rented a little house up in Rennes-les-Bains where she's buried. She's buried on the hill between the house and the river down there. And I started crying like I was home. I would cry and cry and cry and cry. That was an incredible moment in my life. Afterward, we went to the little village of Rennes-le-Château. I was with a couple friends, and I went to the esoterical library there, and we were like, yeah, we've heard there was some birthing caves of the Magdalene or something. Woman drew us a little map. I had a rental car with no insurance, so we tried to follow the map, went onto this like super rocky thing, parked down. I was like, we're gonna kill the car, girls. Like, we need to do something. Knock at the door of the house, and then Tom Kenyon was there. And I was like, oh, interesting. And then I was like, I'm looking for the caves of Mary Magdalene. And he was like, yeah, I think you've landed at the great spot. Go see my friend over there. So I knock at the door. The man opened. Daniel Muroy Givaudan, the famous writer, was sitting by the side of the river. I was at Les Labadou. That's where the Magdalene manuscript was written. So I meet the man that was there. His name was Yap. And I said, I'm looking for the caves. And he was like, yeah, great. Come back tomorrow. You've been guided here. Next day, I go there with my son. we walk to the caves, and as I'm going down towards the cave, I have this incredible peace in me, and I cannot believe what's going on. And he's like, you're feeling the energy of the place. I'm like, no, I just remember you. I remember everything. We go into the
Wow.
cave. I sit into the cave, and then I started singing. And what came through me at that moment was so strong. I actually put a picture of that moment. So these are the birthing caves in Rennes Chateau. I'm there with my little son, who's 1 year old, in the bottom. I sit in the cave, and then I have a very, very strong vision of being a Essene. So 2000 years ago, I'm an Essene, and I'm walking with Mary Magdalene and the Essenes, and we're living there. And I cannot believe what humanity has done with the message that they brought to Europe. And I start crying and crying and crying, and I'm like, it's impossible. What have they done with the truth? And then she
Mm.
comes and she's like, now you need to know the truth, and you need to share it to the whole world, and bring people here on the sacred land and have them sing the ancient songs so they remember and we remember. And that whole knowledge that's been stored into the field of this sacred land is activated again. And I'm
Mm.
like, okay.
Yeah, I'm
So
getting
that's,
goosebumps.
yeah. So I go back to Tom's Kenyon Place. I journey through the south of France, and then I meet this incredible sound healer, and I'm like, I have this feeling of like, I know this place. This is my home. I want to know everything. Like, I want to know everything. I want to dive deep into the mystery of this place. So my friend Yap was like, well, me and Tom we've sold the house. We're leaving at the end of March. So I came home, bought a ticket, went back, and spent a winter there. And I studied the
Mm.
mysteries of sound, got initiated. I lived at Lila Badu, right next to the ancient temple of Isis. I'll show you everything a little later, because I brought pictures of everything just for you to have a little journey into the pilgrimage sacred land. Because I've been hosting retreats there for 10 years now. Um,
Mm.
so, um, so I was living next to the ancient temple of Isis, getting teachings into my dreams, and absolutely incredible moment in my life. And I got initiated to a whole bunch of ancient sacred sites where nobody goes, because the story of my friend Yap, and I put a little reference of him not too far. Anyway, just so you have I don't know where he is in there. Anyway, doesn't matter. So my friend Yap, he was a Marine, and he went to see a psychic, and like years ago, 20 years ago, he sat in front of the psychic woman, and she was like, when you leave this place, your life's going to change. So he went, sat with her, and she was like, well, 2000 years ago, you were taking care of Mary Magdalene. You were a young man, and you would go in retreats with her in the caves, and one day you died, and you fell off the cliff, and she couldn't save you, but she made you promise that you would be back and you would speak the truth about her. And she was like, now's the
Mm.
time. So
Wow.
yeah. So my friend left. He quit everything, got a car, drove all the way down to the south of France, and he got to that place in Rennes-le-Château, and he bought that place. Um,
Oh,
and he devoted his life to the ancient forbidden sites of Mary Magdalene. And I met him, and so he became my first mentor. Sorry,
wow.
I'm just like spinning all these pictures now. Anyway, maybe I should just get out of this. Okay. Yes. So anyway, really special. Yeah, like, and then I met other mentors. So it's been basically 10 years that I go there. I bring people there. And I would say the presence of Mary Magdalene has been increasing all throughout humanity and throughout
It
my life.
has.
it's very powerful, and I really feel like her message is because she's the occulted part of the world. And she's in our system of reference, which is Christianity. She holds the key code of the sovereignty of the soul. Um, and so this is really one of her main messages. Or maybe I should just forget about this. I just made so many. Anyway, okay. Yeah. So yeah.
Wow. And I love that you've got like it must be so amazing to get this like transmission of this is what you need to be doing, and that like mission of okay, I'm spreading this and seeing that it's you've done your work, but it's like it's so many people are talking her truth now. And as women, it's so empowering too to finally feel like we're finding a space for us that was like ripped away from the religion that we know of today. So yeah, it's
Yeah, from the occulted alchemical power of women. And for me, like that's really what she is. She's the portal to the Aquarian age because she symbolized everything that's been forbidden. She's the most esoterical aspect of Christianity. And she's all about
any
because she, yeah.
well, yeah, before we move forward, for anyone who's maybe not super astrologically literate, what exactly is the Aquarian age?
Well, it's where we're tipping into the Aquarian age right now. So it's a shift of paradigm where we're coming out of an era where, well, the Pisces era, moving into the Aquarian age. What I understand from it is that from now on, we're moving to a perception of God being outside of ourselves, to a perception of God within ourselves, which is the inner sovereignty. And this is really what Mary Magdalene was teaching and was embodying because she has a womb. The womb
Hmm.
is the Holy Grail. It's the crucible of human of a primary primera materia, the primal matter of the alchemist. So our pain body, our fragmented self, is being held within the esoterical cave of the womb for self-revelation. And for me, this is really what Mary Magdalene embodied. If we look at the apostles, like those Saint Pierre, Peter, and then Saint John's. And John is really the most esoterical apostle. A lot of the mentors that I've met are saying that John is Mary Magdalene because she, in order
Oh.
to survive with her teaching, was turned into John. In order for her
Oh.
esoterical initiatory path was
Mm.
concealed into the apocryphs of John. So Mary Magdalene comes back as an archetypal forces within all of us in this moment because it's time to unbury what's been occulted. It's time to use the self-revelation to really enter the deep mystical alchemy of our soul. We can no longer lean into the outer world because the outer world has become so thin and linear, and the outer authorities are turning humans into robots. We
Right.
need, yeah. So this is the result of the denial of the key codes of Mary Magdalene. She
Mm.
brought Christ energy into womanhood. She took that all these teaching, and she created the Tower of the Soul, the the ascension pathway of the soul. And this is what Magdala means. Magdala is the tower.
The
So that's
tower,
the
yeah.
the verticality. It's the alchemical tower of the soul. So when okay, so growing up in the Isis temple, a lot of people are saying that she was a very important Persian, coming from royalty, Persian royalty. Some people say that she grew up with these scenes. I mean, I had many mentors historians that focused on occulted history, they more or less agree on the origins. But one thing for sure is that she was she was raised into a temple of Isis. I really believe that she was initiated to the deep mystery of Isis. And one thing that really struck me about the temple of Isis, sorry, I'm like speaking.
Go ahead.
Okay.
This is fascinating.
Okay, great. So the ancient temple of Isis are about, so women would go into these rooms and the Shakti, the Kundalini, the serpent, life, magnetic force of the planet would surge from these places, and women would be completely taken by that energy, and they had to learn how to master the sexual energy of the earth. That's why we see the ancient priestess with the snake and everything. So Mary Magdalene had been like the other priestess of Isis, a master of that energy, the energy. So that's why the tower, the ascension tower of the soul. She was also initiated to the art of synthesizing the essence of things. She would create balms, essential, I don't know, I'm saying things like, I don't know how you say this today, but she would take the essence of plants, the essence of each living thing, and was able to synthesize it to heal people with it. That's when she grew up. And then she was a highly esoterical woman, a very strong woman. And
Somewhat of an herbalist from what I'm
yeah,
hearing.
yeah, a
Yeah.
herbalist, but on a very alchemical level. Because
Level. Yeah.
really, that's okay. So I feel so this is about her, what I know of before she met Jesus, but um, there's something about our nature as women. We are alchemical creatures because we have the gift of feeling very, very deeply into things. And she, as an archetype, really embodies that when she comes back into our life. She gives us the courage to feel deeply and rise with our integrity in verticality in order to
Mm.
gather again the sovereignty of our soul. So I feel we're in the apocalypse. This is the moment of the esoterical revelation. That's the era where
Mm.
everything that's been exiled is coming back through us because the heartbeat of the planet are becoming louder and louder, and everything that's been stored in our genes is being pulsed by the heartbeat of the earth. We can see it in the Schumann's resonance and everything. So all that knowledge that's been stored is coming back into awareness through all of us. And
Mm.
she, as one of as the occulted figure of esotericism in primitive Christianity and ancient Gnostic um, teachings, she is
Mhm.
the emblema of that.
Nice. And that's what we're hearing. A lot of people, it's not a teaching necessarily, but it's a remembering.
It's a remembering. When you go into Rennes-le-Château, and I'm gonna get into this a little later because I want to go through the main sacred sites that I bring my people into to
Yes.
pilgrim on. But I thought this picture was appropriate because when you walk into the church of Rennes-le-Château, you see the dark demonic forces of the occult
Yeah.
that are holding halfway. It's a statue. It welcomes you into the church. There's the four direction and the archangels as women on top of that demonic occulted power of the earth. And
Mm.
this whole church has been created, and I'm going to get back to this later, on the gospel of Mary Magdalene that was found by the abbey of the church. So all the symbology of the church is a disclosure of occulted history. And so
Oh.
once you get into that church, you see this. And for me, this is the alchemical tower. We cannot escape. That's like kind of the totem. I don't know if you say that in English. Totem? Totem? The totem.
I think you could say totem. Yeah.
Totem of her teaching. So you come into the church, that's the first thing that greets you. And it's like we are made of dark and light. We are born from the fusion of these two polarities. And our journey on earth, we cannot escape the alchemical power that lives
Mm.
within us. We are here to rise, to take that occulted, dark, feminine, denied, exiled traumas that we've been completely, we've been so much of our deep mystical journey has been buried, and now is the time of alchemy. Now is the time of emotional alchemy, of
Mm.
raising the tower of the soul again through her archetypal forces. I really feel that she's the portal to becoming our soul's vocation, to tapping really deeply into our soul's vocation. And this is what she brought in my life, and I'm sure into a lot of
I
people's
feel
lives.
I feel that completely, and I'm sure a lot of people listening in right now feel that too.
Yeah. So, what else? Oh, yeah. So, okay, should we get into the story? Is there anything else I wanted to share about this? Uh, yeah, there's this little thing here that I kind of like because I feel like it to me these images, so there's the fractal, so we're electromagnetic beings, and so there's
Yeah.
the polarity of spirit meets the polarity of magnet, like the spirit is like this incredible influx of photonic information that comes from the stars. It's the elemental power of this dimension that comes from the cosmos. It's just pure consciousness multiverse, and it's a very masculine, it's the masculine polarity
Yeah.
when the feminine polarity is very magnetic. So these
Mm.
two fractals are coming together here in this dimension through our heart, and they
Mm.
are united by the power of our heart. The more these polarities are balanced, the more we manifest through our heart a reality that really suits that expresses that. So, what I've discovered through my research is that the feminine, the magnetic fractal of the electromagnetic field has been very, very harshly treated. Genocides have been happening all throughout the ancient indigenous original spirituality. And it's all the mystical, esoterical aspect of life passing through the body, which is really what the Gnostic teachings are about. It's like this body is a vessel for ascension. Use all of your senses. The body is not disconnected from
Mm-mm.
spirit. It's the doorway to spirit. And so much of that magnetic fractal has been collapsed and traumatized. But this is where the crucible is. This is where her teachings are. So we need to regain. We need to start working. I feel she calls in very deeply that work with the subconscious. How can I humbly go into my cave as a woman and meet what's occulted in me in order to bring back that metaphysical information that makes my electromagnetic body whole. And that's
Mm-hmm.
really why,
And
like,
like what we're seeing with the shadow work going into like what are shadows, what dark parts of ourselves, and how can we transform them into that gold that's going to be
exactly,
serving us and our communities.
exactly. And we cannot do this without connecting with the Great Mother. And I've always seen her as the ambassador of the Great Mother, as a woman. And what
I
is the
feel that.
great, yeah, for sure. What is the Great Mother as a quality within us? I think it's empathy, that deep, deep source of empathy that is, we've never really, like, we've always, like in our Catholic Church has been dismantling these two parts, like the electromagnetic have been, and we talk about God being this far out dude in the sky. We never talk about the well of deep empathy that the Great Mother within us holds in order to help us to really alchemize our traumas and our pain body. And I feel this is also like Mary Magdalene was taken out of the Bible au Concile de Nicée, when the Roman Empire was
Yeah.
being endangered by the rise of the Israelite people, because the Roman Empire was a polytheist, had many gods, and the Israelites were Christians. So the Roman Empire at the end of the 300s with Constantine, they just shut up. They decided to change. They became one God. They became Christian, and they took all the Bible and all the writing and they massacred the feminine principle.
Yeah.
And
Hit it,
so
destroyed it, made sure it wasn't there.
exactly. And that was the death of primitive Christianity. It was the death
Hmm.
of Mother God. This is when they
Hmm.
made Mary Magdalene a prostitute. And this
Right.
is when the Gnostic teachings were taken out. So the ascension through the body and the senses were taken out for knowledge. And then it became, and then the Inquisition started in Europe because they had already started in Palestine. And that's why they migrated to Europe. But then it became a huge war against the heretics. But
Yeah.
when you look at occulted history, she really is the she is the Grail. She's the Grail. She embodies the Grail, uh, and and she came here to connect us back with the body. Anyway, I'm just like repeating myself. Sorry.
And when you were mentioning before how she's like that deep empathy, I felt that so much. I don't know if you were there during the opening, but I shared my
Yes,
experience, and it's like that where I was able to just like surrender there and let it flow.
absolutely.
And I felt so held, and it's not like with people. I have great friends, but it's like when you share such a big grief, people are trying to hold you back up. Oh, it's okay. It's going to be okay. But so I always felt like, why even go there? Because they're going to just try to bring me out of it, not really
Yeah,
sit. Whereas
yeah,
in that space, it was like really sitting in it and feeling so held, so held. Yeah.
absolutely. I've been doing this practice for a few years now. It's called the focusing of the soul. And it
Mm.
really changed my life. And this is when like her knowledge really started integrating in my system because it's this spiritual practice that is very feminine. You sit within your own cave, you meet your fragmented aspect, and you let them speak as part of you without identifying with them. You let them
Yeah.
cry, let them scream. And then I would have these incredible moments of enlightenment when I would do this because I was holding these different aspects, the great mother would come, and it would be this like infinite source of empathy in me that would have all the knowledge and all the resources to heal me. And even one day, like, because I was very
And to
loud,
mother those fragmented.
mother, exactly. And that is Mother God inside of us. We've never heard of this, but that's I feel, one of her main teaching. So yes, of course. Channel the magnetic force of the earth through your inner tower and alchemize your pain with the Great Mother. Humbly meet your pain and use the Great Mother. Let her flood you with her love and her benevolence. One
Mhm.
day, I was doing that practice in my home. I was very loud during COVID, creating protests for thousands of people. Uh, and one day, because I was so identified with my witch's wound, the Inquisition wound, and everything. And one day I sat with it, and the Great Mother appeared, and she was like, "Do you really think that your soul is the witch's wound?" She was like, "Your soul is so much more than this." And that was a huge liberation. Like learning to work with my subconscious through the teachings of Mary Magdalene brought so much entanglement and so much security in my life because also the Great Mother is that deep security, the knowledge that we all have to rewire as we face our trauma, that we can really lean into this higher force of empathy and love. That when
Mhm.
you really look with courage and humbleness at our deepest wound, we fully surrender to that, she holds us. And
Yeah.
that's for me one of the main, because I see Mary Magdalene as a badass woman. I see
Uh-huh.
her full of love. I see her as a bridge to the Great Mother, but I really see her as a badass woman that was way ahead of her time, that speaks her truth, that lives in sovereignty, that encourage you no more sacrifice, no more bullshit. She transforms relationship and she helps all the women in the world, all the wounded heretics and witches to take their space with integrity loud and clear into the world. And this is why I
Yeah.
think she is so important.
Yeah. And it's for ourselves, all that like deep empathy and everything, but also to harness that for others too, because it's not always easy being in a relationship or in this world with everything that's going on, but still harnessing, standing true and saying what you have to say, but staying in that, harnessing that space of empathy and love at the same time.
Absolutely. And I think this is where we dismantle trauma. And I feel there's a lot of, I really feel her as the crucible of alchemy that dismantle trauma. The more we lay into empathy, integrity, the more we untangle these trauma that are possessing us from the true vocation of our souls. And in
Hmm.
that way, I would also say she's the guardian of the soul. She's the doorway to the soul. And I mean, she
Hmm.
has many names in many other culture. It's an
It's the archetype.
archetype. Yeah, it's an archetype that rises through us right now. But
Hmm.
still, I mean, as a presence, as a being, like there's moments in my life where she comes so clear and she's so present. So she has also this energy, she carries this energy imprint that also very precise.
Hmm. And I've heard you mention and many people talk about her teachings, but when we look at her gospel, I mean, there's a few pages, a bunch of it is missing. Like, how would you sum up what her teachings are for like being super concrete?
Well, surrender.
Uh-huh.
Surrender to what you feel very, very deeply. Like for me, it's as simple as this. Surrender to what you feel very deeply. Follow the trail of the dragon. Instead of being possessed by your dragon, your subconscious, go really deep into the deepest felt part of yourself. Sit with it, be with it,
Mm.
and let it unleash your your power, your soul magnetic power, your your inner guidance, how you carry yourself into the world, and give the courage to other women, bring that sovereignty back into the world. I mean, this is really what I'm receiving from her. Like, of course, all the rest is happening through our constellation of souls, like through our souls community. We are awakening to all these ancient ways that are based on the true, deep, heartfelt love. Um, and for me, it comes first with how can I surrender to what I feel very, very deeply and align myself coherently with that because we've been forbidden to feel. We've been
Yeah.
burnt alive because we were truth seeker, because we were metaphysical masters, because we knew how to feel nature and the cosmology in such a profound way. And all of this has been taken away from us through 2,000 years of genocides. And now we need to go back into this and get the substance, the essential oil back.
Hmm.
Um, yeah.
It's
So,
fascinating how we've been such, like the other day I was thinking about that. I'm like, what happened that we became such a threat that they needed to remove us from the women from the storyline? Like it's
well, because we're the
incomprehensible.
well, we birthed the world, we birthed humanity. I mean, that's huge.
Our portals.
We birth humanity. And I really think at this moment, after 2000 years of patriarchal distortion, we again are birthing the world through stepping up
Mhm.
with our gift, speaking our voice, freeing ourselves from our trauma. We are giving birth to the Aquarian age. We're showing the way to man. I'm not going to sacrifice anymore. I'm not going to have sex because you want me to have sex. I'm going to feel very deeply into what's right. And I really feel that we're birthing the world.
Yeah, and I'm hearing you
So,
say that, and I really feel like you were talking before about the witch wound, but I think also one of the key things right now.
Geneviève is prostrated.
Geneviève
Hello?
wants you to just speak your truth right now.
Ah! Okay, so I
You know,
really, yeah. Okay, so sorry, we lost you, Geneviève. Anyway,
I think
uh,
it cut out.
yeah. So I feel like I want to take you on a
Am I back?
journey. Huh?
Oh,
Yeah, no, it's all good. I want to take you on a journey through the pilgrimage that I create or that came to me, because there's a lot of knowledge that comes from these sites as well. And for
mhm.
me, because she is the teacher, she's been the teacher in my life of trauma healing. Sorry, someone's knocking at the door. Allô? Oui, c'est pas un bon moment. Okay, so because she is the one that unburies the esoterical, occulted knowledge, I see her as a ruler of this. I see her as a ruler in a doorway to diving back into the ancient esoterical traditions that are in our genes. And to me, she's
Mm,
the symbol of that. So she opened the way for that pilgrimage, but that pilgrimage goes into different timelines. It goes through the Cathars, the Templars, which were also inheritance, and the Druids were also the Visigoths. All of these cultures, all of these ascension paths that our ancestors fought so hard to preserve. We were the ancestors. We were the one killed. We were the one burned. And she came into my life I find, to open that pilgrimage back and in many of our lives. But because she is the healer of trauma, in my perception, she's the healer of all the traumas that have been exiled. As she's rising through us, she's giving us the courage to unbury our esoterical connection with life, the memory of the metaphysical reality that we live in. So I said, I really love that sentence that said, I'm a seed sown by my ancestor. Wherever I am, wherever I will be, I will never be lost. And I
mm,
call her very often in my life because she helps heal these old wounds that are like closed door to the metaphysical Gnostic knowledge, the original memory that is within our soul. Our souls are these incredible encyclopedia of everything that we've mastered in the past. And she opens the way for us because she's done it. She's ascended the soul. We can call her anytime to guide us. Okay, so these are the books that I've shown you. Okay, now let's dive into the South of France mysteries. Okay, so I just want to say, what she taught me also is like to work with sound because sound is timeless. So through her guidance, I've been helping hundreds and hundreds of women to find their true voice from the womb. So she taught me, I remembered through her presence, that's better said because we all have access to her presence, a way to help women find their voice. Our voice is our most naked, sensitive expression in the world. We have
mm,
been oracles for thousands and thousands of years. And the voice and the singing goes beyond the linear mind. We speak, we articulate things, but our own voice, unleashed from trauma, reveals so much about our deeper identity. So
mm,
as I met her deeper and deeper, I started helping women healing their true voices. And then I also met the giants, which are the rulers of the ley lines of the earth. And I met the giants and Mary Magdalene at the same time because she worked a whole lot with the planetary grid. She worked with sound and the planetary grid. We have the power with our voice, with song ritual, with the ancient rites of song, because sound is a former element to this dimension. So when we sing and we allow ourselves to become the oracle, we go beyond our fear, we unleash the dragon within ourselves from the traumas, we can start channeling the ancient frequency oracle that weaves our cultures into form, the cultures that have been exiled to the genocides. So what they inspired me very deeply to do is to bring groups of women into those key places, ancient sacred sites all around the planet, but mostly in the south of France. So
Mhm.
what is the planetary grid made of? It's made of elemental information. These are the veins of the earth, like the meridians of our body. They go through all around the earth and they feed nature. They are the elemental current of spirit, the information from the stars that all the divas, the elemental, are weaving into form with their higher intelligence.
I'm seeing like there's places where it crosses you. Would that be where sacred sites are?
Exactly. These are the main portals. So there's like the cosmic influences that comes down from the stars, all the information of spirit, as I was saying earlier, we're electromagnetic beings. And then there's these dragons, these giant pillars of magnetic energy that are meeting in certain places on the earth. Boom, these two polarities, these two creative currents are merging together and it creates the ley line. They feed nature. They're the primary substance from which nature builds itself. So
When you mention
there,
dragons,
yeah.
mentioned dragons a few times in us, in the earth. What exactly are we talking about here?
When you say what?
When you speak of dragons.
Yeah, I'm speaking about the ley lines. So
Okay.
the ley lines are the vital energy currents of the earth. This is a very, very old drawing that comes from the north. Um, I'm going to speak about this later, but the lineage of Mary Magdalene and the keepers of the northern tradition m mix their blood, and the Grail lineage was created. So they knew
Mm.
how to work with ley line. They knew how to work with sound because ley line is the vital current of the earth, accessible. So that being said, these are the Hathors made of sound, the elemental being that I was talking about, song ritual in the caves, very, very powerful. So, okay, planetary grid, we see there's these cross lines, and these crossing of the lines, they're called sacred sites. That's where the surging of the cosmic and the magnetic energy are creating the meridians, the ley line, the dragons that feeds all of nature. And in the south of France, there is a very special place. Sorry, girls. Why did I do? That's called Bugarache. Okay. Mount Bugarache is in the south of France. So let's go back 2,000 years ago. The Romans are becoming more and more voracious for power. Jesus, Mary Magdalene are parts of the Essenes community. And then Jesus did his minister after his ascension path, goes out into the world and teaches. And at the end of his teachings, he gets crucified. I don't think Jesus died on the cross, but this was the beginning of a great inquisition.
You think he
No,
survived?
yeah, that's what the church says. That's what the
Interesting.
Rennes le Château church says, that Jesus never died on the cross.
Okay.
Yeah, through the symbology inside the church, but we'll get there later. So the Essenes were very endangered. The Roman wanted to eat the the Gnostic. Um, they wanted to eat that initiatory path of the ancient ones, all the sacred knowledge of the right Kabbalah, the key codes of the planet. The Essenes were keepers of that before it was the Therapeutae, came from Hyperborea, all these different places, and but this was being severely endangered. So what they did after the crucifixion is that they left. the apostles separated. Some of them went to the Middle East, and some of them went to the south of France, following the ley line. They got guided to Bucharest. Why? So I'm just going to show you a picture here. So this is the Mediterranean Sea. They were in Palestine, around here, I don't know exactly where. They followed the ley line because these portals, these star portals that we saw on the planet earlier, the planetary grid, they are fed by ley lines. And back then, before the industrial revolution, we were living in a very different state of consciousness. We would work with the power of ley line. We knew that the real power was in the vital force of the earth, the metaphysical influx of power of the earth. So they followed these ley line, and it led them to Bucharest because it's one of the 13 stargate of the planet. So going to Bucharest, sorry, I'm going. They went to Bucharest, and they stopped at Sainte-Marie-la-Mer, and Sainte-Marie-la-Mer probably gave birth there to the first descendant of the Holy Grail, Tsar, that became the queen of the gypsies. And I think that's why the gypsies are worshiping her so deeply, because they have always known that she is the first descendant of the occulted lineage of Mary Magdalene and Jesus. And this is why they've been singing so passionately. The passion of that forbidden lineage stayed active through their singing all these years. The gypsies are worshiping Tsar, the forbidden child of the lineage. Some people say Tsar created the lineage of the Merovingian when she got married with this man. Anyway, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so they went through Sainte-Marie-la-Mer, and then they land in Bucharest. And why did they land in Bucharest? Because Bucharest is a doorway. First thing you got to know about Bucharest is that it has an inverted electromagnetic field.
Huh.
So what's magnetic goes in the back and it up. And so it's a total doorway in the planetary grid. So the forces of creation are circulating very freely in Bucharest. You cannot fly over Bucharest without all of your plane information going crazy. So,
Oh, interesting.
and I've seen aliens, starlight going in and out of Bucharest many times. Never happened to me in other places in the world. Many people had warned me, like, yeah, you're going to the portal, you'll see. I was like, no, this is like, no, but I actually saw blue lights coming in and out of the mountain a couple of times. It's a very powerful Syrian gateway. And all around Bucharest, they created the first Essenes community and the first Gnostic schools. So that is very important because she is the apostle that brought all the Gnostic initiatory path, the alchemy of the soul, the essential of the soul in Europe. And so they created all these Gnostic schools starting in that area, all throughout the coast of the Mediterranean Sea, all the way to Catalonia. And so she is the bringer of these teaching in Europe. That's been completely buried because, you know, she's a prostitute, right? So there's a reason why these very powerful initiated beings went around this mountain, because it's a huge stargate. And whatever archetypal energy that comes from a stargate ripples into the world and ripples into, it has influence in the DNA of population, because it's a portal, as we've seen on the planetary grid. So they started there because they were close to the heavens and they could receive informations from the heavens. A lot of people say that Bucharest means home of the Ark. This is where the Ark of the Covenant had been buried, because when Jerusalem was fallen from les Arabes, the Muslim, the Templars took the relics, the sacred relics, and they brought it to the south of France. So between Bucharest and Rennes-les-Bains, it's a very small perimeters. there is all these relics have been buried: the bones of Christ, the Ark of the Covenant, the Holy Spear, the Grail. And so during the pilgrimage that I host, we go and see all these places where these things have supposedly been buried. So okay, so this is I'm doing a little publicity about my retreat here. If you're interested, it's amazing. Anyway, I'll send you the infos. This is where we live in incredible domes next to the tomb of Mary Magdalene. Very holy place. She comes very strong in that place. Her presence is all over. Anyway, let's keep going. Okay, so they went to Bugarash. We have proof of this. So right next to Bugarash, there are these houses. So
Huh.
yeah. So this is maybe like 40 kilometers wide, more or less. There's actually a template that I want to show you because, okay, so there's Bugarache, there's Rennes-le-Château, and all around Rennes-le-Château and Bugarache, there's all these ancient Essene houses. There's tons of these piles of stones on the hill. And how do you know these are Essene's houses? Oh, this is actually my last group, amazing group of women. These are the houses of the Essenes. And how do you know that? Wherever the Essenes would live, they would build houses like this. So if you go to Qumran, you see houses like this. So when you go there and sing the ancient Essene songs, some very special energy comes through your body. This also explains why the Gospel of Mary Magdalene was found in Rennes-le-Château. So if you got into the Da Vinci Code and everything, there's like all these stories. It's really like such a small percentage of truth that is said through this. Because what really happened, what's the great mystery of Rennes-le-Château? First, Rennes-le-Château is facing Bugarache. It's kind of the yin portal of Mont Bugarache. So let me just see something, because I had a map that it was very easy to picture it on that map. There's an energy template in Bugarache that is super special. Where did I put it? No, I can't find it. Maybe I just erased it. Anyway, there's a pentacle in the landscape. Okay, let's not speak about that then. Okay, so I was saying, so what's so special about Rennes-le-Château? So first, the Gospel of Mary Magdalene was found there. Okay, first, Rennes-le-Château is right in front of Bugarache. This is the ancient temple of Isis. That's where there was an Isis temple on that plateau. And this is where the priestess would work with the energy of the earth, refine himself, be in service to Isis. There is an incredible portal of energy right there facing Bugarache. And when you go up the hill, you go into Rennes-le-Château. And so this is one of for me, these are the group of women that I brought with me again. But so I really think that one of the great mystery of Rennes-le-Château is the portal of the Isis temple and the geomagnetic portal of the earth, as I was showing on the planetary grid earlier next to Bugarache. But mostly the fact that they found the original gospel. So Béranger Saunière, which was the abbé back then, this dude here, in 1865 was asked by this woman to crack open the crypt of this old church in Rennes-le-Château. He cracked the crypt and he found some very ancient relics. Where did these relics came from? Well, Rennes-le-Château was surrounded by these Essene houses, and there's caves inside of Rennes-le-Château that you can only access through the castle in Rennes-le-Château. All these ancient relics are buried in there. And when the French Revolution comes in, the queen of the castle, she's like, I don't want everything that's in my cave to fall into the hand of the enemy. So she asked the abbé in the 1600 to bury himself with all the relics. And some people in the area knew about this, and they tried to put back the legitimate lineage on the throne, and they asked this guy, Béranger, in 1865 to go open the crypt, pull the relics out, because there was a lot of money in those relics, so they could put their own king on the throne of France. But what he found in the crypt was a very ancient manuscript. He found the Gospel of Mary Magdalene in the crypt that was originally written by the Essenes that were living all around Rennes-le-Château. And so it was so mind-shattering because all the keepers of the knowledge and all of this had disappeared. They had been killed. But this gospel was speaking the truth about this incredible woman that was the ally and the equal of Jesus, that was the founder of a mystical order, that was the Gnostic order of the Rose, the Order of the Rose. And what is the Order of the Rose in the alchemical tradition? It's a state in alchemy. And this is my friend, the master of the Templars order, that told me this. There's a stage in alchemy where the more you work on your philosophical stone, in the crucible, it becomes like the blood of Christ. And there is this incredible rose that is created in the crucible. And you put a meteorite in there because that's the third eye of spirit that's been corrupted, that came out of the sun and fell on earth. This is the primal, it's the philosophical stone of the alchemist. You put it in the grail, you drink it, and you attain the resurrection, the state of resurrection, the ascension of the soul. So blah, 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 blah. Mary Magdalene is depicted in the church. So Béranger Saunière renovates the church. The only power that he has to speak at that moment, because it's so mind-shattering and anti-Roman Catholic, is to write everything that's been in the gospel in the symbology of the church. So if you want to know what's in the original Gospel of Mary Magdalene, spend time in the church, ask questions to the stone, try to decipher the characters, the message, the saints that are depicted. But one thing that is very interesting, as I said before, she is in the middle of the church, standing with a cross. And into church symbology, it means that she's the founder of a mystical order that is very important. You find her depicted the same way in the Galamus Church, in the Hermitage of the Galamus, which is a designated temple church in the area where the Grail was hidden. Anyway, blah, 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 blah. So if you want to dive deeper into the teachings of Mary Magdalene, have a little sound meditation at the Temple of Isis. And then after that, go check out the church. Everything is written in the church. We know the Nag Hammadi have been found in this a couple of years ago. The manuscript of the Nag Hammadis, they've been translated here in Quebec. I met one of the women that worked on the manuscript. She told me that a lot of what it was translated at l'Université Laval here in Quebec. They found the Gospel of Mary Magdalene in there, but a lot of the truth that was found in the Nag Hammadis was stripped out of what's been actually published. And the woman who told me this is a woman who wrote on translating these. So if you want to have a clearer vision of the gospel, go to the church with a mentor. Go to the church in Rennes-le-Château with someone that knows how to read really well the church's symbology. Yeah. There's also an incredible energy there, a very profound and mystical energy in the church of Rennes-le-Château. Yeah, so going back here, so that's the Mary, and of course he designated the church to Mary Magdalene and her esoterical Gnostic teachings. Another place that is very special in the area right in front of the church are the Resurrection Caves. This is where she would do, sorry, I'm skipping through stones here. Okay, I'm going to go back here. So another place that was very important is so the Magdalen, the birthing caves, and the womb caves take a lot of people there. It's a very, very powerful place. Just a second, I'm just gonna exile this. Do you have any question, Geneviève?
I'm just like fascinated by all of it. One of the questions that I did have like a bit earlier, you were speaking about him being a saint and that his daughter was their daughter was Sarah, but we had a speaker this morning saying that Sarah would have been Mary's scribe's daughter who died also. So she adopted her, and that the child that they had together would have been a boy. So I don't know if you had any thoughts on that, because like it's both coming from this scene, but then like it's a different story. So I don't know if you had heard that before.
Never, never. What I
Yeah.
heard from my friend, who's the master of the Templars order, the alchemical,
Mhm.
the keeper of the alchemical tradition of the Templar, an incredible, incredible man, is that she got married with this man, and they started the Merovingians lineage. That's
Mhm.
and that the gypsies have been singing the loss of the sacred lineage for ages. It's in their genes. And this explains all the passion and the grief that they've been singing forever, like the keepers of, so that the memory never dies, you know?
Mhm.
Okay, so another place that is very special is the Magdalen Cave, right in Rennes-le-Château. I talked about it a little earlier, but there's a birthing cave in there, which is a womb. That cave is a red clay womb. So there's three
Okay.
caves. There's a cave of contemplation where I had the girl, you need to learn the history, bring people to sing.
Uh-huh.
So there's the first cave, there's the womb cave, and there's the rebirth cave. So after you've gone into the womb and given birth to yourself again, you're being blessed in the cave of the resurrection. That cave is a very powerful catalyzer for trauma. Every time I bring groups there, I'm like, what's gonna happen? Are they gonna survive? Am I gonna be strong enough to, am I gonna be the womb? Am I gonna be like, I've always been able to be the womb for these things, but it's like, you really
Do I
gotta
have the
sit.
capacity to hold what's going to
Yeah,
come?
yeah, yeah. Well, always. But sometimes you're like, ooh, so that's a very, very cathartic place. They just closed it because of the mud and everything, but we'll find a way to get there. Like I know that valley, we'll find a way to get there and still go there and release what needs to be released in order to rebirth women.
Hmm.
Okay, so now I want to take you to another place of that sacred holy land. Okay, so this is Rennes-les-Bains, right next to Rennes-le-Château. So there's Bugarache, Rennes-le-Château. I've talked about both. And then Rennes-les-Bains is right there. So between Bugarache and Rennes-les-Bains, a lot of ancient Templars relic have been buried there. Something
Hmm.
very special is that the ancient prophecies would talk about a dried sea under the earth, where the second holy land would be uh, irrigated by a salty river. So
Okay.
at the bottom of Bugarache, the Stargate, sorry, there's a source of salty water because there's a dried sea underneath Bugarache. And so the water that comes from the spring is the holy water of La Salles. There's seaweed in that river. You go into these incredible forests, and in the center, there's this river of ocean water that springs from the bottom of the mountain. And this is
Wow.
the altar where the first baptism happened in Europe. The first Gnostic baptism are in a very special place in Rennes-les-Bains where you go and bathe in the water. And that's the altar of the first baptism that happened in Europe. So, of course, you can go there, sing there, connect with the ancestral lineage of the place. Super special place. That leads us to Rennes-les-Bains being so an archetypal template that is fueled by a stargate is a place where mysticism, ancient religion, DNA is formed. So a lot of ancient spiritual currents were birthed in that area. That's where Mary Magdalene went there to bring the knowledge of Gnostic ascension through primitive Christianity. But there has been a lot of other very important spiritual currents that were birthed there. So there's something about this whole area that was very druidical. So there's a
Mhm.
lot of remains of megaliths, and there is an oracle of Druidess in the forest that was called the seat of Isis. And so I do believe that as much as we've been conditioned through the Inquisition to believe that Christianity, primitive that Christianity and Druidism were separated, they were not. Because if you dive deep into the mysteries of your soul to harness the knowledge of your humanity to be a better human, you also dive deep into the deep mysteries of nature. So these people were not only incredible, the lineage of the Grail was not only incredibly knowledgeable and full of wisdom and healers on a heart level, following the value system of Christianity, but they were also deeply part of the mysteries of nature. And when you walk into Rennes-les-Bains, where she has been buried, you find places like this. This seat is called the seat of Isis originally. And when I bring groups there and we sing around the seat, there's 5 ley lines that go through the seat. It activates the megalith. And women sit on the seat and they start receiving oracle. It activates the stone. So there's this very old technology that we used to work with, humans of the earth. The power of sound, the silica in stone, which is we see in megaliths, ringing rocks, and ley lines. So we would work with ley lines, sound, and stone. So this is a place where the very high knowledgeable women would go and deliver their oracle, while the oracle in the megalith placed on the ley line is activated through sound.
Hmm.
These are incredible women that came a year ago to my retreat that had amazing moments of remembrance on the seat. Okay, let's go a little deeper. I'm almost done with the different sacred places of that area. This is Galamus. So the Hermitage of Galamus. So Bugarache, Rennes-les-Bains, Rennes-le-Château, and next to Rennes-les-Bains, there's the Galamus Hermitage. It is also called the Valley of the Crescent Moon. And in the ancient books, it is said that the Grail was hidden in the Valley of the Crescent Moon. In that incredible, mind-blowing valley that almost nobody can go, there is a cave. It's a church cave, a crack into the rocks with lots of underground caves. That place was where they would go, I think, and what my mentors have told me and what I felt very deeply, they would go to do the ancient rites of primitive Christianity because they were safe, they were far away from everything. And a lot of things have been buried in that cave that was recently turned into a church. But when I bring groups there and we sing, the power of what happened is absolutely incredible. This is my first mentor. Her name is Anneke. She devoted her life to forbidden history. She wrote 3 books. The last book I'm a part of, I'll show it to you very soon. She sung for us that day the Abwoon, the original prayer of Jesus. And this is the real translation of the Abwoon, the Aramaic prayer of Jesus. All Father, Mother, all one of the all and in the all, holy and secrets are your name. You live in activity and light. I need to toss that little thing here. Let your desire be with mine. Anyway, I guess you can read it, but it's very different than Dear Father God, I'm a poor sheep. Please save me. I will sacrifice everything. I'm guilty of being born. Very different.
Right. I love it. I love it. It aligns so much It just makes so much more sense.
I know. Let's see if she can
Somebody
sing
here
for
was
us.
asking, can you talk a little bit more about the seed of Isis or where we can find more about it? Thank you for so
Yeah,
much for
yeah,
your
yeah.
generous.
Yeah, let me just let's just listen to the Aboon first because
Yes.
this is the original Aboon that she sings to us in the Galamus Church.
We don't hear it.
Oh, too bad. Okay, I listened to it. I'm like, wow, this is so great. Okay, because she died 2 years ago. Okay, so yeah, the seat of Isis has been rebaptized. The devil's uh the devil's couch or something like that. Le fauteuil du diable by the church. Of course, Isis is
Oh,
the devil. We all know
course.
that. We've seen it in the Church of Rennes-le-Château. The dark, occulted feminine turned into the devil and possessed her subconscious. There's at the exit of Rennes-les-Bains, there's a little street that you can go up and everything is there. But if you want more information, you can always write to me. I'll be really happy to answer your questions on how to find it. So in the Galamus, so Galamus has an altar right in the back there that is a Templar's designated altar. What were the Templars about, really? They were protecting the alchemy, the traditional art of alchemy, which is a very profound esoterical art. So Saint John, if Saint John is the the esoterical teaching of Mary Magdalene are in Saint John's, the Templars were worshiping Saint John's more than anything else. Um, They were devoted to cultivating the ancient esoterical knowledge of self-revelation, and they would use alchemy. So the Masters Templars are not like these self-proclaimed gurus that can abuse so many people and be super narcissistic. One thing that relieved me very deeply when I found about how the Templars orders worked is that first, I do believe that their alchemical traditions were based on the deep esotericism of Mary Magdalene. But most of the Templars were men. They didn't have a womb. So they needed to have a crucible. They needed to have a crucible outside to work, to alchemize the primal matter. So
Hmm.
the true masters of the Templars order have always been alchemists, very profoundly devoted, skilled alchemists. Because when you're in front of the philosophical stone, you cannot lie to yourself. Everything's going to manifest in your crucible. So a real master would be chosen with the results of the alchemical, of what was coming out of their practice of alchemy. So this is how this tradition has been able to maintain that vibration underground, because they had to go underground and become super secret. But they survived. The transmission survived. It crossed ages and ages, and it is still alive today. And they're still cultivating the alchemical tradition of Christ through their practice of alchemy, which teaches them about everything that they need to bring into the world. Anyway, so when you go
Hmm.
in the Galamus Hermitage, there's this stone there that's been reproduced, but it speaks about the basic foundation of the Templars. This says Sator arepo tenet opera rotas, and it speaks about becoming the wheel of God, being in the center of the wheel and being in service to God. So they were completely in the Hermetic Templars' heart, the womb was in the center of the Templars tradition, and they would aim for that fusion with the soul to bring the Christ on earth through their tradition, through their alchemical tradition. How much time do we have left?
We're 36 and we had you till 45, so more or less 2
Perfect.
minutes.
I'm just getting to the end. The Cathars. So I talked about the Templars. I also want to talk about the Cathars because they were the inheritant of Mary Magdalene Gnostic teachings. And same as the lineage of the Grail. So the Gnostics there were the Templars, the Visigoths. I didn't talk much about the Visigoths. I'm sorry. The Cathars, and the Cathars were some keepers of the Grail as well. They were, and so okay, very, very magical places that the Cathars held. 1,000 years after Mary Magdalene was in the south of France and started the Gnostic schools, the Cathars, there was a revival of the ancient Gnostic primitive Christianity through the Bogomil in Bulgaria and the Cathars and the Albigeois. They were also cultivating the art of transfiguration and alchemy in their own ways. And so during the retreat, we go into the sacred initiatory caves of the Cathars. It's caves like this with altars, and we go sing the ancient songs of the Cathars because sound goes beyond time and space. It recreates the state, the electromagnetic of what's been taken away from us. So we go there and sing and connect with the inheritance of the Gnostic Cathars, in which it is said some of them had the red book, the book of Jesus, that's been sensitized later through the book of Yun, the red book. Anyway, so this is another thing that I'm going to be brief now. We're going to experience some other pieces of the Cathars cave. This is the book that my mentor and I wrote about the ringing rocks, the power of sound, the grid line, occulted history, how these three ingredients together are bringing back to life what's been taken away from us, the state of consciousness as a state of beingness. Oh, yeah. This is Albi. That's the last part of the pilgrimage. We go to Albi because it's a temple, the way that the ley lines are intricated into this temple is absolutely incredible. This was done 1,000 years ago. It's an essential oils of all the ancient Gnostic teachings. And so the last day of the pilgrimage, we go there and we meet with my friend, the Templar. Anyway, why is there all these lines? There's lots of incredible temple churches. Lots to say about this. Ancient relics buried. Blah, blah, blah. Otoran. I could say so much more. But anyway, I just wanted to...
So much to know. It's like
Yeah.
you're a wealth of knowledge. We could be here for hours.
Yeah. Well, so as I said, I create these journeys. They're journeys of remembrance that are going beyond the knowledge because sound is alive. Sound is the origin of the world. So
Embodiment of it.
exactly, it's the embodiment. So it's very Gnostic. So we go in the side, speak about the history, we sing, we bring, and I work a lot also connecting the womb with the voice before working with the magnetic force of the earth. Transform this into sound. Sound is an elemental power. So we work with sound, we go on sacred site, and then after that we integrate. We have lots of circle of integration. I host these retreats in those incredible places where there's geodesic domes right next to the water source of Mary Magdalene and where she was buried. So very often at night she comes, her presence fills us. It's a very powerful journey, experiential journey to remember beyond the mind and bathe with her presence and gather what's been taken away from us and reawaken that information in our bodies and our genes. So anyway.
That's what I'm really excited about. It's like they did a really good job at hiding all of this and removing all of this, but I'm just so happy that it's resurfacing now. It's like they
We're
couldn't shut it up forever.
No, we're doing such a crazy good job right now to reawaken that quality of experience in our life, that quality
Yeah.
of compassion, of relating to one another. And you're such a part of this by creating this. I am so grateful for you, women. I am so grateful. Thank you so much. And to all the people that are here today. We're changing this world together by stepping into our innermost integrities and dream to manifest.
Yeah. And that's what before I think I cut out, but I'd read something that you shared. It was a download that you got last October from Mary Magdalene, and it's really all about the coming together of women. We were talking about the witch wound, but there's the mother wound and the sister wound. I think that we really need to transcend and come together as women moving forward in this work.
Yeah, and I think the more, because strong women, we're kind of like self-made women. We've been warriors all our life and we hold ourselves a bit like this. And it's about, okay, how can I really receive the medicine of that incredible women and like allow myself to be to receive that, transform me and and stay in my integrity through this, unbury my own occulted. And I think we're reawakening to that incredible. Oh yeah, that's one thing that she told me because sometimes her presence comes really strong. And as you said, so I wrote, I channel, whatever. I write her teachings, and that's what she was saying. She was like, the state of the soul is so incredibly fragmented right now that you need each other. You need to
Yeah.
work together. You need to step into your gift and with the great container that respects the individual, allow each other to merge, to get to know my power, the power of she, the power of her, the
Mm.
occulted, divine, fucking outrageous, incredible, feminine.
And we're all circle facilitators, the one that put the those of us that put this together. So we really feel that how like coming together as women, being witnessed in our vulnerability and just being there for each other and supporting each other through this is making so many shifts. So yeah, it's and then you bring Mary Magdalene into the mix and you've got a really great space for transformation and for evolution.
A hundred
So
percent.
if anybody wants to join you, because like this has been amazing seeing everything. We went on a digital journey, but like obviously the embodiment and feeling it and being there is like next level. So if anybody wants to join you, how do they go about that?
Well, you can go on my website, evemarieroy.ca. And everything is there. You can write to me an email, personal email at Isisya, Isisya at protonmail.com. You can check me
Everything's in
out.
the workbook. So yeah, they
Perfect.
everybody got a workbook. So everything's there. They'll be able to click through and
Oh,
find.
super. Yeah, you can befriend me on Facebook. I'm also starting a podcast next month where I'm
Nice.
interviewing all the mentors that I've met.
Ooh.
And it's going to be called The Apple of Eve.
Is it in English or French?
It's going to be both English and French. So you
Oh,
can go on
nice.
my YouTube channel and subscribe, Eve Marie Roy. And so, yeah, that's really like it's time to be proud that we fucking bit the apple,
Right.
man.
Right. I know you do a lot of these in French, your the things, and we've already been talking amongst us. We're like we should gather like an English group and like go next year and go
Yes,
with you, right?
totally. Oh yeah, you can also like I just wanted to say like if you want to like hire me for these journeys, like I've did it in the
Yeah,
Philippines with a group of
we're already
incredible
manifesting.
women. Yeah, 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 yeah. And that being, I wanted to say one more thing. Oh, I have lots of music also on Spotify. I'm a singer, writer, composer, a good friend of Julie for incredible song.
Yes.
We've worked together. So I'm about to launch an album about Mary Magdalene. It's devoted to her and it's
Mm,
devoted to the alchemical grief and the power of being in our sovereignty as women and biting into life.
yes.
Thank you
Awesome.
so much, women. I love you. You're
Yeah.
amazing. I'm eager to meet you in flesh and bones.
We lost her. She just disappeared. She went.
No, I'm here. I'm here. Oh, one last thing I wanted to say is that I'm giving 2 retreats in October. So if you feel called to come, there's still plenty of room. Actually, I'm launching the retreat this week.
Okay.
So in October, the date's 23rd to the 30th of October, and another one at the beginning of October. So yeah.
Awesome. And these are in English or French, these ones?
They're in English. Yeah, there's
Okay.
one in French from the 13th till the 20th. I'll be co-hosting that one with a woman from here.
Awesome.
Mhm.
Yay. So do you have any final words that you'd like to share with the audience before we go off?
Self-revelation through womb consciousness.
Mm, beautiful.
Oh
Thank you so
yeah,
much, Emily.
one in
Go ahead.
spirit. We've been hearing that all the time. One in spirit. I say one in womb consciousness.
Almost gets thicker. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank
Bye.
you. Ciao.